In my comprehensive hands-on video on the new Leica SL2, I also showed how to mount M-type lenses onto the SL2 body. And you need an adapter for this. Here in retrospective you see how I mounted the very special Leica Noctilux 50mm f/0.95 onto the SL2. And I said already in that video that I want to test this combination, which I'm going to do in this video. So we'll consider the shooting experience, we'll consider sharpness, we'll consider most importantly bokeh, and test the lens on the SL2. Let's get started. So before we come to shooting in real life, let's talk a little bit about theory versus practice. In particular, when we speak about sharpness, I want to reference a video, the link is below in the info box, which I just recently posted on the new Leica M10M Monochrom. And in this video, I also go a little bit into technical background, what sharpness really means, and that sharpness is a subjective impression with some quantitative, objective criteria, of course, involved in it. And by the way, some people pointed out that there's some grayscale banding in some of the sample images I showed. That is due to the YouTube video compression algorithm, because the images look crystal clear on my computer. So if you see something in the video the way you are watching it, which is not matching with my description, then probably or very likely it's due to YouTube video compression, because the images here on my computer look very good when it comes to bokeh and sharpness. In the comment section under my video on the Leica M10 Monochrom, some people rightly pointed out that the test would have been even more in favor of the M10M if I would have chosen the Monochrom 50mm instead of the Noctilux. And you see here on the MTF charts, on the right hand side the Noctilux, on the left hand side the Monochrom. Yes, from a technical perspective, that's absolutely right. The MTF charts look better on the Monochrom than they look on the Noctilux. But what distinguishes the Noctilux is its wide open aperture of f/0.95, and that's why I wanted to look in particular at that lens. Here's an interesting comment I found in a blog where someone is criticizing that habit to always stare at MTF charts and thinking that this gives you the full impression of a lens. And I fully subscribe to that point of view, because the shooting experience with the Leica Noctilux is terrific, in particular on the SL2, because of its bokeh, because of an aperture of f/0.95, and the sharpness is actually excellent. My practical experience in photography is that there is a deviation between a practical shooting experience and the technical data of a lens. Let's look into focusing first, because focusing is tricky with a lens with the widest open aperture of f/0.95, if you use it of course, because then your depth of field will be very shallow. I will for demonstration purposes show focusing by means of the LCD on the back of the camera body, but that's exactly replicating what you would see in the electronic viewfinder. So I switched focus peaking on, and you see here how I tested with widest open aperture of f/0.95, and I can zoom in and then see these red dots indicating where I have sharpness and where I'm out of focus. And as you can see, just a tiny little rotation of the focus ring on the Noctilux already changes the sharpness based on a very shallow depth of field. Taking the shot with a timer and then looking at the result, whether we have sharpness where we wanted it to be, namely on the watch, and look at that, even at widest open aperture, very sharp. Let me quickly show in a time lapse how you can change the coloring of the focus peaking, and in this particular case my object, which is this Omega watch, is bluish and greenish. That's why red is the ideal color to actually indicate where the focus sits. If you would have a different color of your object, you can change it to a bunch of other colors in the menu of the Leica SL2, and in this way always get the best contrast between your focus peaking and the object you want to have in focus. So looking at the result, this is the shot with the widest open aperture, and I think is pretty sharp already. Of course, if we now get the aperture a bit more close to f2.8, we get a reasonably sharper image, and that is what you should do if you are looking for sharpness with the Noctilux. In real life shootings, the workflow with the Noctilux at widest open aperture is slightly different, and if you look at an image on the LCD of the back of the camera body, it might look sharp, but if you zoom into the image, it might not be as sharp as you hope when you see it later on your computer. And here's an example from a shooting I did, and clearly The eye is a little bit dreamy, is a little bit fuzzy, is not as sharp as I expected it to be. That's why careful checking the photos before you actually stop shooting is very, very important if you shoot at widest open aperture of f/0.95. In this particular example, focus is more on the cheekbone than on the eye. So by checking the photo, I realized that I have to repeat the shot. And now if you look at the result, now the eyes are in focus and the cheekbone is a little bit out of focus and therefore more smooth, which is exactly what I wanted to have. And I hope you can see this on video and YouTube video compression is not ruining the result. I want to demonstrate here, as I mentioned before, but on the computer clearly you see it that the cheekbone is now smooth and the eye is pinpoint sharp. Let's now at the end look at a few sample images shot with different apertures and different shooting parameters. And let's have a look at what this combination of the Noctilux with the Leica SL2 is capable of doing. So clearly when judging about sharpness, about bokeh, about the overall image impression, the combination of the Leica SL2 with the Noctilux f/0.95 50mm is a very powerful combination. And actually I enjoyed that shooting. I enjoy shooting with M lenses mounted on the Leica SL2. And I hope you enjoyed that video too. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Thanks for watching and peace out.